And Art the Clown was just this little part in the beginning. And then I would show it to people, and everybody just kept talking about Art the Clown, no matter what. Everything else was just on the back burner. Everything was like, yeah, it's good. But that clown, you got something there. You should do more with that clown.
I think, some of these theories that I read, I'm like, some of them are out there, and, some of them I think are pretty close to what we actually might be doing with the character and stuff like that. So I'm like, I think some people are very astute.
You can't just keep doing that. I can't just keep making movies about this, this guy just killing people and you don't know.
So I think that you're what I would call like Frankenstein of art, I guess. Have you thought of it that way?
He's definitely my creation. He's like my child, you know? So that's the greatest compliment of all time. I love it.
So how did all that come to be? Like, how did art come into the world?
Oh, well, I watched the video, so I know that it's been a long time, right? It's like 2006. So yeah, he was in a short film that I made. It was my first official short film called The Ninth Circle. I wanted to showcase whatever I could do, like me as a director, special effects artist. I wanted it to stand out, so I threw a bunch of stuff at the wall. I was hoping something would stick, right? So there's witches, demons, monsters, a clown, It was just this one thing I had this idea with a clown because I felt like I love clowns. I feel like there's something scary about them, But I feel like there was something that I could do a little differently that I hadn't really seen before. So I wrote the script, I made the short film, and Art the Clown was just this little part in the beginning. And then I would show it to people, and everybody just kept talking about Art the Clown, no matter what. Everything else was just on the back burner. Everything was like, yeah, it's good. But that clown, you got something there. You should do more with that clown. So I heard that enough, and then I was like, yeah, well, I guess I should listen to these people. If enough people are saying this, maybe there's something there. In my mind, I was trying to make a feature out of the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of what your typical slasher is. Like the last 15 minutes, which is the most exciting part, where the killer's really in it now. You get to hang out with Jason or Michael Myers or Freddy for a good 15 minutes. And it's like, here we go. This is what we were waiting for. So I was hoping to take that and kind of just stretch that out into a full movie. Whereas, so if you notice, which people have, it's Art the Clown is really the star of the film. He's in almost 85% of the movie, which is kind of rare. It's not really what they do in slasher movies. Typically, your slasher pops up every 10 minutes, kills somebody until the last 10 minutes.
Well, I got him originally because I saw an audition on a website for actors called Actors Access. They were looking for a tall, skinny guy with clowning or physical comedy experience, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And it's for the role of a lifetime, quote unquote. So I contacted my rep, said, hey, please send me in for this, and they did. And I go in there. It was probably one of the craziest auditions I've ever had because, unlike everybody else that was there auditioning, they all had scripts, and they didn't give me a script because Art doesn't talk. So I go in the room and like, so what do you guys want me to do? They're like, oh, just come up with a scene on the spot, just improv killing a guy and hacking off his head. I'm like, okay, you want to just do a few minutes? They're like, no, go ahead, just do it now. And I'm like, all right. So what I did is I came up with a scene where I snuck up behind a guy, cartoonishly, knocked him out, then cut off his head, as you do, and and picked up the head, looked at it, went to taste it. I'm like, nah, this is not good. So I take out salt shaker and salt it. Then I taste it again. I'm like, that's good. I toss it in my bag, and I just skipped away. And Damien and Phil and all of them that were in there just started cracking up as soon as I stopped. And they're like, so you want to come in for makeup tests? First of all, I went back and like rewatched what Mike Giannelli had done with All Hallows Eve, just so I could like really nail the essence of the character anyway. So I was like, okay, that gave me a starting place, because like, yeah, I don't want to totally do what Mike did. I wanted to add my own thing to it, but it gave me a starting place. And I grew up watching the old classic, silent films like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, I love Marx Brothers. Of course, I grew up watching a lot of Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean. He was like one of my idols as a kid. Just, oh God. Like with Robert Englund, he was probably one of my biggest influences with what he did with Freddy Krueger. I took all of that and like kind of meshed them together.
What else went into making him and his look?
I feel like his face is pretty Joker-ish, like comic book Joker,
Yeah.
right? Pointy cheeks, the nose, the chin. So that's like the most iconic clown out there, right? So I thought that would be cool, because I hadn't really seen that in a film before. I've seen it in a comic book. So now to attribute that to a film would be different. It's a different medium, right? So that was one of the things. My favorite show of all time is The Twilight Zone. There's an old episode called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. And there's a clown in it, and he's not exact, but if you see now, like he has the top hat. He's kind of, the show is in black and white, so to me he looks black and white. He's got the bald cap, kind of resembles Art the Clown a little bit. So there was a little bit of that I took from. But yeah, I just knew, like you said, I wanted to do everything the opposite of Pennywise. So. I want to just literally. You take the hair away, you take the colors away, everything opposite of Pennywise becomes Art the Clown. You take the voice away, So that's what I wound up getting, and I like simple.
Why do you think that he has had such a connection, I guess, with the horror community?
I think part of it is he's new in a lot of ways, but not, because he definitely has his roots in the old slasher films. I would say especially Robert Englund's version of Freddy Krueger. I like to say like Art is basically like Harpo Marx and Freddy Krueger had a baby. And that's what he is, but I think also he scratches an itch that's been, bugging people in the horror community for over a decade, because horror films, for the most part, since I guess like the late maybe early 2000s, have been pretty tame. They're not nearly as crazy and violent as they were back in the 70s and 80s, and I think it's because Hollywood has been trying to tone them down because they want to put more butts in seats, and because they have lost the fun factor, and I think that they've lost the gore factor. That's what people went to the slasher films for, was like the crazy over the top kills and those things, and that's been lacking so much. And I think you have that, you have the weird twisted humor that's in this, and plus, he's a different type of character too, because he's a silent character, but he's also entertaining in that way. He's kind of fun, and I think it taps into all those things.
So, I feel like the simplicity of him is really what resonates with people. I think that's what works. I think if you get too complicated and you put too much emphasis on the dialogue and a personality, I think if you keep it subtle, there's a better chance of it working.
Yeah, it's like a bit more mysterious, I guess. Which is like the big thing, I guess, behind Art. The biggest thing behind Art is that no one really knows what the fuck he is.
Crazy, right?
Only you, right? Do you actually have a big backstory in your head?
I know exactly what he is. Yeah. No matter what, though, the sucky part is that I know for a fact I'm going to disappoint maybe I feel like 40% of the people. Even just by giving an explanation, some people are going to get pissed. Some people just love the fact that you don't know. They're like, no, it's great. I love it. Keep it that way. I love it. But you can't just keep doing that. I can't just keep making movies about this, this guy just killing people and you don't know.
Boyd says, I wonder why Art likes to eat people's faces. And this is something I addressed as well, because he's very into mutilation. Arms getting, hands getting cut off. I wonder if this has something to do with anything.
I don't know if this has anything to do with his backstory, but I can tell you this, like, he's sort of, Art's sort of a combination of a bunch of real serial killers. So there's a bit of Ed Gein, there's a bit of there's a bit of Charles Manson,
yeah.
Probably a bit of there is a bit of Marilyn Manson, I guess, right? A lot of people say this was not intentional, but a lot of people say, like, when he comes out wearing the woman's skin, he looks like Marilyn
in that film clip. Yeah, totally.
Completely unintentional, but there you go. So he's a little bit of Marilyn Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, part of him. Yeah, that he's a cannibal. Yeah, he'll do it all.
No, I think there definitely is something there, because that's actually a comment I made to Damien at one point. It's like, I know it's like Art has a thing about disfiguring faces. It's like I look at most of my kills in the movie, like, make a head out of a jack-o'-lantern, I stab the crap out of a guy's head, I shoot another head full of holes, I stomp another head, then, Katie's head gets sawed in half, and then, Victoria's face gets eaten. So I'm like, yeah, there's something in the faces there, yeah. It's like, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but, it's like whatever Damien comes up with, yeah, but I think there's a theme there.
Warm Wishes says, is it possible he isn't a clown, but is a mime?
There is a difference between mimes and silent clowns. Mimes use pantomime, that's why they're mimes. Silent clowns use props. They actually use physical objects.
This one's very interesting to me because I didn't even think about this. Nathan Mitchell says the scene where the homeless woman wants her baby doll back and she has to mother him may be a hint to his backstory.
I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. So a lot of people think she touched him and like she got to him and made him very vulnerable at that point. But she didn't. Like that, like it's all, he was just fucking with her the whole way. If that kid tells you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can tell that he messes with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, people think like she really broke him and she touched something deep inside of him and he kind of let his guard down at some point. But that's not the case.
Okay. Jonathan says, I absolutely loved Art the Clown. I personally think that he was a representation of society now.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that, especially, I hate to say it, but, with the gun culture we have right now, he pulls out a gun. I think the most important part of that is to look how he reacts while he's doing that, as opposed to his other kills. He's not his other kills. He's having fun. He's having fun. The gun, to him, that is his last resort. It's like, okay, fine, I'm done playing around, this is done, I don't want to do this, but hey, boom boom.
The gun thing, it was definitely intentional because that's so relevant, especially in America. Yeah. There's a lot of mass shootings and terrible things like that, so I knew that the gun would be really horrifying, and I figured that to me, it's the scariest thing, so I figured you could put it in the hands of a classic kind of slasher. Like, a lot of people don't like it. And, you see that's another thing that's kind of split down the middle. Mm-hmm. People are like, oh, I hate, once he pulled out the gun, they're like, you lost me. Yeah. They say, you shouldn't be having a gun. But to me, I wondered, I was like, could we give a gun to a slasher, and could it be scary? And I think it can be. I think it is terrifying, and that's kind of his contingency plan. Whenever his back's to the wall or something, or someone's gonna get him, like you're never gonna get Art the Clown. Like, they literally put Michael Myers in prison, like in part 5, like he's in a jail cell. That's insane. Like, you can't put Michael Myers in front of a judge. To me, that's insane in part 5, But So like I can't imagine Art the Clown in front of a judge. Maybe that would be hysterical. That might be.
Yeah, that actually would be quite funny.
It might be hysterical. So to me, it's like he has to have a way to get out of any of those situations. Like no cop is ever going to arrest him.
Yeah.
If he ever gets caught, or he's going to take himself out, and you're never going to know what his deal is. So that was one thing, and another thing is just guns are horrifying, and I think if if he has to pull one out at the last resort or whatever, it's going to be creepy, and he's not just going to shoot the person once. He's going to keep using it in a sadistic manner. So he doesn't just shoot her once, he shoots her in the cheek and he lets her suffer, and then he comes back and he shoots her like 5 more times in the face. He just destroys, her beauty or whatever. So he's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing.
Diva Duck said, I can definitely say that he hates women. I think at the end of the recent film might be a prequel to everything we've already seen, showing the more supernatural side, demon, etc., which would explain his need to not only pop out of nowhere, but he doesn't seem to die, or the whole destroying everything in the worst possible gruesome way.
Well, I don't really think he hates women per se. I think he hates everybody, and his thing, he will do whatever he can to try to break someone mentally. I think he finds his target, and he's going to do whatever he does to drive them crazy and toy with them. So it doesn't, actually, because that's one thing we did talk about. It's like, Damien and I were like, oh God, people are going to come after us saying we're misogynist and everything. I'm like, well, if you look at it, most of the kills in the movie were men. It was like, piece of guys. We had the 2 exterminators, and then I guess himself, and then, he had, let me think. Yeah, actually, I would say it's about equal.
Yeah.
It's about equal. Yeah.
Okay, this is a long one, so I'm just going to try and cut this one down. This is from Hell Knight 20. I believe Art was once a person who may have been alive during a more primitive time, at the time where he could get away with doing such heinous things. When he did eventually die, most likely the others rising against him and killing him. He would have lived as a demon. Perhaps after centuries, he would have been with the other like-minded demons. They formed some kind of group, seen in the earlier short, forming their own plans on the living. They took physical forms, taking a clown, possibly believing it would attract attention and lure his kills. And at some point, Art left the group, possibly on his own accord, or possibly because of some plans to split the group for a later purpose.
So there's a lot of things that I can't go into that this person's touching upon, but I will say this. I'm giving you a lot of spoilers here.
I know, and I don't know why you're doing it. I love it.
Okay, so at the end of Terrifier, that's the first time that he's been killed.
Okay.
Like officially dead.
Okay.
So he's not even sure or expecting to come back.
Oh, that is
a big deal.
That is a big deal to hear that. And that's it, guys. I hope you had as much fun watching this as I did putting it together and making it. Interviewing Damien and David was a pleasure. They are 2 of the nicest dudes that I've ever met, and also it just makes me love the horror community that much more, that people are just willing to give you time because they love talking horror. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. A lot of time went into it, and I know the quality isn't great with Skype calls, but I feel like the content was pretty good. We learned some stuff that no one else knows, and that's so important to me, bringing you guys fresh content. So if you did like this video, and if you did learn something new, give it a thumbs up. You all learned something new, so give it a thumbs up. And I hope you guys are having a great day. I'll talk to you very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.